appreciate everybody being here tonight. We've got a good little agenda, a couple of interesting things going on, some partnerships between our town and the county, so happy to have Mayor Grandy here tonight. We're going to start off with Vice Mayor Dixon leading us in an opening prayer.
Let us all pray. Dear God, we thank you for another day that you've allowed us to see. God, we thank you for all your wonderful blessings. And God, even in these difficult times, on the world stage, difficult times domestically, difficult times neighbor with neighbor, God, we still have something to be thankful for. And so we're grateful for the joy you provide. We're grateful for how you let us see another beautiful day. We're thankful, God, as we see summer end and fall begin, we still have something to be thankful for. There's always a silver lining, even in the dark cloud. And so, God, we just thank you for the community in which we live. We thank you for the people that make up this community. God, we ask on this evening that you guide our meeting and our deliberations. We ask, God, you continue to bless, God, these public servants that have a lot on their shoulders, Lord. We ask that you continue to watch over this staff, God, even in the midst of a global pandemic. Continue to keep them healthy and safe. God, so much again to be thankful for. We ask your blessings on this meeting. We ask it all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Adam. Ruth, who do you have to lead the pledge tonight?
Mayor Joe Grandy.
Very good. Right. Joe?
Always nice to be here. Let's honor America.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Joe. All right, Madam Recorder, roll call, please.
Mayor Best.
Here.
Alderman Callahan.
Here.
Alderman Causey.
Here.
Alderman Countermine.
Here.
Alderman Dixon.
Here.
All right, we're all present. Good to have everyone here. Okay. All right, first thing on our agenda is our consent agenda. There's a couple of corrections I think Glenn handed out for some personnel matters, just getting the pay correct. So make sure you note that in the minutes. And Alderman, if you got any questions about that, please bring it up. Does anyone have anything in the consent agenda they'd like to pull and discuss? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
Move to approve, Mayor.
A motion to approve from Alderman Dixon.
Second.
Second from Alderman Countermine. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Just mostly personnel things in there, and I guess we approved the Halloween haunts and happenings, so excited about that coming up in October. And I think they got it's going to be a drive-in version, it seems like, of Halloween, and that's perfectly fine. We're exploring the drive-in movie theater that we started last year. Adam birthed that idea, and it's worked out great. I like it. So we'll maybe do a scary movie down there in the drive-in. Go and knock on people's windows and scare them. Excited about that. All right, next item on the agenda is our financial report. Alderman, you got any comments about that? I'll just say it's another good month in sales tax collections. I think for the year we finished about 15% over last year, which over a year ago you never would have thought that. You was happy to get a 2 or 3 or 4. Actually, be on the plus side many years, but for a 15% growth, that's really strong. And I really think you can go throughout our town to see that vibrancy in our town. People are moving here, but it's also people shopping locally. We got our businesses, our entrepreneurs, getting creative, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. So, Alderman, I'll take a motion to approve the financial report if you don't have any comments.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now we're going to move into communications from myself, and there's a couple of things on there that, one's a presentation by the 1st Tennessee Development District about our Little Limestone Creek watershed plan. Amber, would you like to step up and present that to us, please?
My name is Amber Orlikowski. I am with the 1st Tennessee Development District at 3211 North Roan Street. So I want to be real brief here. You do know a lot about Limestone Creek. It is impaired on the EPA 303D list of impaired waters for nitrate and E. coli being a really big aspect of that. So from 2015, 19, and 2021, FTDD and their partners ETSU and UTK did some testing and found one of the major causes is E. coli. I was able to kind of sort it out to urban runoff, agricultural runoff, and natural processes. So part of our management plan is finding solutions to help get that off the list. One major one will be riparian buffer repair, so planting vegetation along the creek. That's really going to help the ecosystem in the creek and help kind of filter out pollution going towards the creek. We also have fixing faulty pipes on there, and there are several different grants that are available from UT Institute of Agriculture, the USDA office, and there's just a lot of really good opportunities here listed in the management plan. So nothing for you to vote on, but I would like your comment and feedback. Maybe you have any thoughts on how we can help address this issue.
Very good. Glenn, you got any? You think you did the PowerPoint today?
Sure did. Amber had a PowerPoint, and it was very good, very detailed. So basically, the plan will go to some staff, and Todd Wood will help us also look at it and review. It'll go to TDEC, so that'll be the management plan. And then the next step would be is to do BMPs, or best management practices. And what I've asked for is basically more of a tactical plan. So if we know what the issue is, if it's riparian buffers, then what's the resolve to it, and then what's the timeline to get that actually done. Some other areas that was kind of real good timing. Board approved in this past part of our current budget some sewer work downtown and Depot Street, and so those are two elements of actual discharges that we have to tackle, so we're already ahead of that with having those are capital projects this year.
I was surprised when I read that that was one area that was, I guess, somewhat higher than where it needs to be.
Older lines, terracotta, or what have you. So just it's trying to detect those leaks. Agricultural will work those angles. Of course, the pollutants come upstream and downstream. So we'll have a plan to work with farmers and such. And some areas that are duck farm or
Goose farm.
Pardon me?
Is that our pond? Yeah.
Goose farm. So there's a lot of different things other than we talk about sewer or other things that are more natural that's creating problems as well. So, but we'll work with 1st Tennessee Development District, have an action plan and a schedule to roll out when we will be tactical on work executing those plans.
Oh, very good.
All right.
Alderman, you got anything? Well, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, that was 2B. If we can, let's knock out 2C. And there's some committee appointments and reappointments. Alderman, have you got any comments about that? If not, I'll take a motion to approve those committee appointments. Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
I'll second.
Second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Counterline.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
All right, motion carried, and got some great volunteers on there, some new and some been with us for a long time, so we appreciate their work. All right, next item is Employee of the Month. And if I could, let's have Jimmy Green come down. I'll get to read this to you. Hold that there. All right. I would like to nominate Jimmy Green for Employee of the Month for his outstanding effort in acquiring more water water system has helped supply customers on John Matthews Road, Corby Bridge Road, Smith Bridge Road, and Cheaper Road, approximately 40 customers with more water and PSI on an antiquated 2-inch galvanized water line. This area has been problematic for years with low water and pressure complaints. Jimmy's proposal was to tie in the 6-inch line at Matthew Mills Road with the 2-inch line that fed Corby Bridge Road and Smith Bridge Road, thus supplying customers with more water. The implementation of this plan worked, and the customers have around 10 more PSI and gain 10 gallons more per minute at their meter. Jimmy is a valuable asset for our water distribution and is dedicated to the needs of the town of Jonesborough. Jimmy has been employed with the town of Jonesborough for 16 years, appreciate that, and has the respect of his co-workers for his leadership skills and willingness to teach and pass his knowledge on to newer and inexperienced associates. So we certainly appreciate you helping our customers out with water, but I'm sure they're thankful of that as well. I appreciate that. Anything you want to say, Jimmy? No. I'm good. All right. Thank you. That illustrates why it's important to have good employees. Something like that, benefits a lot of people. So you had a great impact. So thank you again. Next little thing, just a couple of comments. Spent Friday night down on Main Street for Music on the Square. Had a great little performance. And just really happy with the job that Sam Love has done down there. It's great to see him out there interacting with residents and dancing, but the music is outstanding, the type of music we like down on Main Street. Saw Cameo there, appreciate her work on such a good Music on the Square season so far, and Brews and Tunes have been going well, so appreciate the tourism and marketing departments. Also, meant to do this last week, really maybe or last month, and I noticed on one of our agenda items that Gabe Evelyn's got a proposal in there for an event coming up, but not everybody knew that Gabe helped on a movie set for a Hallmark movie, and it's just really impressive. I think the Johnson City Press had an article on it, but just really happy with his success, and I think we're hoping to pick his brain for our holiday lights coming up, so I hope he gets involved in that, but really it's a great tribute to him to be invited to come put the lights up for a Hallmark Christmas movie, because they certainly do a lot of them. That's it from me, Alderman. Anything from you all? It's your communication time. Virginia?
I'm good.
You are? All right. Stephen?
Nope, being good.
Gentlemen? Terry?
I echo you. The music on the square and Brews and Tunes has been excellent. And Sam's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And also yesterday I got to attend the Constitution Day over by the schoolhouse, and Mayor Grandy was there, and it was very well done. They celebrated the First Amendment.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Terry. Adam?
Mayor, I would like to recognize, and if it has been done, forgive me, but I would like to recognize the fact that our community, we lost an individual who was very involved in community affairs, Jeff Dupre. And just want to extend condolences publicly to Donna and Chuck Lewis and David Phillips, and Jeff sat on the Traffic Advisory Committee and was very involved in the community, and just a good human being, and he will be missed.
Yes.
So.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I know he would attend quite a few of our meetings and always offered good feedback. All right, thank you, Alderman. Now it's time for our town attorney comments. Jim, you have anything for us?
Nothing specific to report, Mayor. It's been a very busy month for all your staff with respect to both the school project and this waterline crew in partnership with the county.
All right, thanks, Jim. Appreciate what you do. Next item on the agenda is our citizens' comments. Any citizen like to speak to our board tonight? All right, very good. All right, we're going to move into our new business, 7A. That's discussion and possible action concerning a special event application request for Mill Spring Makers Fair. think we've held that in the past, and it's always been a great thing for our town, and it sounds like they're going to try to conduct it in a safe way as well.
Move to approve.
All right, got a motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second, with the addition of subject to CDC guidelines.
I think, is that in the proposal?
It's in the proposal, but it's not in the recommendation.
Okay. You add that to your recommendation, Terry?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Kelly.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning a request of right-of-way application certificate of appropriateness for Tennessee Tales Pet Boutique. And that's a great business for us downtown. And of course, Gabe also owns Gabrielle's Christmas that I spoke of earlier. Alderman, you can see the recommendation there. Is there anything we need to add to that, or I'll take a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would say that the insurance is in order, so it's ready to be approved.
Okay.
Final approval.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Causey.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now something that kind of ties in with that. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a change of tent temporary structure application certificate of appropriateness. Is there anything you need to speak to that? Yes.
Just I believe that the board can put their confidence in me that I can do the reviews based on, I'm already doing the certificate of appropriateness under the right-of-way usage application. So then the second part is the temporary structure application. And so I'm asking the board basically to entrust in me that I can do the proper reviews and approvals administratively as I'm already doing on the first part of the application.
We could probably, we'll start you out on probation on this.
Give me 6 months. I'll prove you right.
All right, Alderman, you got any comments about that? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, you got 7D. It's been our Persimmon Ridge Soccer Association season. Sounds like they had a successful sign-up down there, 50 more kids. And I tell you, been outside and running around and exercising. This is very important for our kids. Alderman, you got any comments about that? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
I'll second, Mayor.
Second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Moving right along into 7E, discussion and possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance annexing property at the corner of Ben Gamble Road and State Route 81 North upon request of the property owner. Sounds like it makes sense.
Has this already been approved by Planning Commission?
It is not. It goes, the plan of services goes to them Tuesday. So what we have is a developer that's looking to build, and currently our policy is that if you're building on those lots, you have to have sewer and open. So it would go to planning or plan of services review and all that, and then their recommendation to the board for second and final reading.
Okay.
It's one of those where you don't look too close, it looks like people believe it was already in the city.
Mhm.
People bought the property, believe it was in the city.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yep.
It's close.
Not to belabor time, but I am kind of curious, Glenn, any, I'm going to call it prognosticating, thinking about the future, that area is growing heavy. I mean, any thoughts about, traffic and such things and any kind of
these won't affect it right now. I mean, as far as our services are already. I think if we had, the way annexation law is right now, it's pretty much owner request. So the owner has to request versus us planning the future.
Yeah.
But actually, Mr. Ford and myself, I actually have talked about the road, and that's why I'm also going to planning the road, because our corporate limits are up ahead as well. That's 81, which is already maintained by the state. But
Yeah.
is there a particular area?
Well, there's some large vacant land right there that you would
So-
think one day, I agree with Adam, it is probably going to develop, and we need to make sure we're thinking about that, just like we were out Tavern Hill Road. It's,
Yeah.
we got to be thinking about those things.
So yes, we're exploring areas of growth without thinking that we can go and plan strategically
Yeah.
to annex in a good way. We're hampered by that. Right?
Yeah, until they request us annex it.
But we
can't.
are looking at that area, the school area, and some of other growth patterns as well, as far as what's our current infrastructure. And a lot of our improvements that we're doing right now are tied a lot to either they've had growth and we're catching up, or we're looking ahead to improve our infrastructure for future growth.
It looks like this is just really be 3 lots, 3 houses. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what you think it'd be? Yeah. Okay. All right, Alderman, any other questions? If not, it's you got 2 recommendations there. One's to approve zoning the property to R1, which is low density residential, which kind of fits those 3 little lots. R1A.
Move to approve.
I'll
All right,
second.
we got a motion to approve from Alderman Callahan. We got a second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermeyer.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. We're going to skip letter F, go straight down to G. It's discussion and possible action concerning approval of an interlocal agreement with Washington County for the water line project within certain unincorporated areas of Washington County. And again, we've got a great water system, a great water crew, great water administration. We're happy to serve the county. And this is something I know has been on the county's radar for a while, and Joe's going to make it happen. Joe, do you have anything you want to say to us tonight about this project? All right. Glenn, is anything you want to speak to on this?
I'll basically tag teaming with Mr. Wheeler, but I did want to say that Mason Edmonds also did a review for us as well. And you can see on the one handout that we provided, he has different comments in there, which we'll take one at a time. I think there's nothing as far as detrimental since of what we've already been reviewing since Friday. But I figured maybe we can address those comments or additions or tweaks, and then maybe if there's any questions from Alderman to take them up at that time, or during the comments on these changes.
So, Mayor, if I could go over the
Sure.
changes. And the reason, of course, that Mason Edmonds reviewed it is that with my position with the county, we felt like that was conflict and asked Mason to review it. And I've had an opportunity separate from Glenn to talk with you about the changes, so I'd like to go over those with you now and recommend you make those, with one addition also from Mayor Grandy this evening. First of all, with respect to item number 3 on page 3, Mason suggested just removing it, as anticipated that, because that's actually obviously going to happen. So it would just start as that the town will be the lead supervisory agency.
Okay.
The next changes were in the right-of-way and easements down in the paragraph 8 on that same page. And I thought this was a good suggestion to change it to subject to the county mayor having advance notice, so that it's clear that we did not need to wait for a commission meeting, but we could give the county mayor advance notice. And the mayor's indicated that 7 days would be sufficient, the county mayor has, so 7 days is suggestion number 2. Suggestion number 3, that if they haven't heard back in 7 days, that's not a bad idea to have just an automatic approval there. Item number 4, I had an opportunity to speak to Mayor Grandy before the meeting. Mason has suggested that we need to address the procedure if the county does not approve the payment. Those payments have to come to you for your approval. So what we've discussed is that we just put in here that the mayor's objection will be presented to you all either by staff or he will come himself to discuss the objection to whatever the town staff has negotiated. And then you all would just have the final say, just so we get some conclusion to it. He was fine with that.
So if our board votes that they need to make the payment, they have to?
They'll make the payment,
Okay.
yes.
The county commission can't try to override that?
No, because the terms of the agreement will say that you all make the, of course, they could terminate the agreement after that.
Okay.
But we needed some way for it to end.
Right.
And to be able to get the right of way.
Sounds good.
And then on his suggestion number 5, that the county will reimburse the town for payments to property owners, but in case there are other expenses, such as having to condemn the property, those would be reimbursed by the county. We did think, in talking with Mayor Grandy, that the county should have the ability to not only object to that, but to say no to that. So we would suggest that that have to be approved by the county. So in other words, before we litigate it, it would go to the county commission and be approved that the county commission will reimburse the cost of that. Don't envision that happening, and envision them cooperating if we do have to. And on rare circumstances, rare cases, we do have to do that. So this would just give us the ability. But those would be significantly greater expenses. So it felt like the county ought to have some say-so in whether we go forward at that point.
Okay.
Sometimes those things can be re-engineered to go around somebody, get back in the road right away or something like that. So that's kind of what is envisioned there, is the discussion that could take place. So that's recommended, and then with the change also recommended by Mayor Grandy. And then on mitigation, over on page 4, paragraph, it would be 16. That sentence just needed to be clarified by adding at the end of it the words "and subject to reimbursement by the county."
Okay, yep. Sounds like it cleans that up.
Let me make a note of that real quick.
That goes along page 5 at the bottom of ongoing project costs.
Right. So, and then on page 5, up in the equipment and supplies, and this was interesting with Mason not having been involved in the discussions. He wasn't clear about who the equipment would belong to, and I actually believe that was a question that I received from one of the aldermen. And where it says the county will acquire certain equipment, we'll put at the end of that paragraph that the equipment will remain the property of the county. So I think that was what we intended.
Yep, they're the ones paying for it, right?
Yes, sir. And those are all of the changes that Mason pointed out, and I have conveyed my appreciation and the town's appreciation for his willingness to do that. And by the way, he will be reviewing upcoming changes to the proposed changes to the school project as those come to you. So with those changes, we would recommend approval of the agreement.
Okay. Alderman, you got any comments about that? Certainly a worthy project, and I think sounds like the interlocal agreement there ties up a few little loose ends.
I think it's excellent. I do have a question, because we're having so much building. I talked to Mayor Grandy a little bit about this yesterday, watching all the permits coming through the Planning Commission and adding houses. What's the long-range plans for having enough water?
I was reading the agreements that
we're already in the planning stages or processes of having to expand our water treatment facility. As a matter of fact, GRW has submitted a draft proposal that Mr. Rosenoff and I and Director Brobeck will be meeting with GRW tomorrow morning. We're near capacity now, so we were already working on this before the agreement came with the county. It's a long process, and there's a lot of money involved in expanding that water treatment facility, but we were working on that actually long before.
Right.
It actually goes back prior to Mr. Rosenoff even coming to Jonesborough as a town administrator. That's how long this process has been, but we're getting close, hopefully being able to bring something to the board on that.
Yeah, just to say, Alderman Dixon's question, one of the main questions we've had when we're looking at, and you're right, as far as development, you know, our growth was over 16%,
Yeah.
according to the federal census. And so that's a lot of
Drinking
people.
water.
And so each home, if you figure 2 to 3 people per household, it's quite a bit. So we started looking at our service areas, not only just updating, but also if I was a developer and I want to go here in Jonesborough, are we going to get to the point to where we're going to say there's not adequate infrastructure, whether that's volume or pressure or tank. So we've been, I'd say since I've been on board and even before, we've been diligently working with GRW. You also, as a board, last fiscal year approved the study. The other part of that study is to looking at funding opportunities. So we're already looking at everything from our lines to transmission to tanks to treatment facility. So the one thing that we don't want to be caught is being able to tell developers that we're not able to adequately serve you. That also has to do with PSI, that pressure situation as well for fire protection, fire hydrants, so all the infrastructure. So we're on it. It's going to be quite a bit of money. Of course, it lasts for decades. The nice thing about it is there's a lot of, I think, funding available out there, whether it's loans or state revolving or USDA or I'll call it stimulus monies on the federal level, infrastructure grants, depends on how infrastructure is defined, but a lot of things are still being tied to water and sewer and treatment facilities. So, and then also ultimately with the water line, with the county, that gives us a really good opportunity to look at the future as well as the demand on our system, not just what we have currently, but also our future with the county as well.
So one of the extensions is where we have low water pressure and we need a water tank. Is that going to be town expense or county expense?
If it's water line project with the county, then it would be the county. And if I'm talking out of line, just let me know. But when we're looking at infrastructure in certain areas, that would be, call it county, city projects, then that'd be working with the county on those improvements.
You talking about within this interlocal agreement here, or?
Yeah,
It's in the future.
just the lines
I
that,
think she's addressing the interlocal agreement.
That-
Is
yeah.
If you have to have a tank as part of building one of these lines, is that
Right.
going to be a county expense?
Your tank, because it is more storage, there may be certain circumstances which we're looking at in certain areas where we may need to put a booster pump station, which would take care of some of those pressure problems, so it wouldn't necessarily be a tank, because again, you have to look at the elevation in relation to Persimmon Ridge and so on and so forth. So booster stations is something that we really didn't like talking about, but in certain areas, it's probably going to make sense at some point that we have to start looking at that aspect of it. So just because it's low pressure doesn't necessarily mean that you would need to go build a storage tank.
Would that be town expense or
For a booster.
county
Well, that
expense?
would- In that circumstance, it would obviously be part of that water line extension. It would
Okay.
either be, we don't have adequate pressure to serve that area, or this is the alternative.
But I think, though, it would be important to point out that the agreement is about putting in water line. If
Right.
the engineering comes back and determines that an urban area can't be serviced with the existing additional infrastructure, that's gonna have to go back to the water task force and then the county
Okay.
to decide, are they gonna, if they wanna pursue the project, then we gotta figure out how it's being paid for, that additional infrastructure. But it is not just automatically, we do it and they reimburse.
Right.
So, that would, and that level of engineering has not yet been done on all these projects. That's, the town will be entering into that with GRW. But it would have to come, before you would be paying for it, it would have to come back to you. And the idea would probably be that we look at what are they recommending, talk to the county about, do we would put part of the county funding into that, or, that particular project might not be able to be done. At least not, it may have to be, hold off until we find a grant for it or something like that, or state monies. But so there's a lot of different ways it can be handled, but either way, I think the county and the town would have to approve how we handle that if we get to that point. Is that your understanding, Mayor Brandy?
Yes. Yeah. These particular projects,
You come on up, Kevin. Remember Grandy, tag team it?
We have one project that's in this list. It's on Sailor Hill Road. It's off Bowmantown Road. That is in our northern part of our area where we have, I don't want to really say a problem with our pressure and our volume, but if there is a problem area, it is north of 11E in our system. All the other projects are from town south, where right now we have plenty of water, we have plenty of volume, plenty of pressure. The Sailor Hill Road is actually going to help our system because it ties in a loop feed and kills 2 dead ends. So that's actually going to help water quality in that area, and it actually will boost the pressure a little bit more and give a little bit more volume to those areas off Fusion Road and Bowmantown Road and Sailor Hill Road. And like Mr. Ford said, and Mr. Rosenoff said, and Mr. Wheeler said, GRW has looked at every one of these, and they have proved that we have plenty of water, plenty of volume and pressure in those areas to extend those lines. So, and we all know that if anything else is done north of here, that we're going to have to look at some of our infrastructure as far as pump stations before we do anything in that area. Mm-hmm. So all the lines that were approved, that were picked out, handpicked by the Water Task Force, were in areas that were approved by GRW on our hydraulics, that we have adequate water to provide for those areas.
Is there a minimum PSI that you have to have on these water lines, to where if one is going to be constructed, it's under that it kicks in, that you have to do a booster?
Well, the only thing the state minimum requires is 20 PSI at the water meter, which I'm going to tell you is not a lot.
Yeah.
And we try to keep it 40 or 50 PSI.
Okay.
And all of our areas, except when you get way out 81 towards Fall Branch, you start getting in that 30, or on our ridge tops, we have some 20s and 30s. And that goes back to us looking at pump stations, which, we really don't like. I don't like them, but we live in East Tennessee. We've got hills and hollows, and we're going to have to address that at some point, because we have areas that just don't have real good water pressure. They have the state minimum, but that state minimum is not good enough for me, and I don't think it's good enough for the people of Jonesborough and who has our water in our water district in the county. So we're looking at that, like they said, and that's all part of the process. And I'd be happy to answer anything else that you
Thank you, Kevin.
Virginia, have you got? Virginia has some more comments.
Will we be getting a list of where the lines are going?
Sure, we can provide that to you.
Okay, another question I have is on the employees that we'll be hiring. I think I talked to Mr. Rosenoff, but I just want it on record that they'll be coming in under our pay plan. They won't be coming in higher than our employees are making now, because that's what when I got the list, it showed that they were coming in higher. They'll be coming in the same, and will those 7 people be told that this is a 4-year, possibly more, contract, and that at the end, there's possibility that they'll be the ones laid off?
Yes, so we'll, there's only one compensation plan, of course, and that's what the board approved. We have, I don't know what the scenarios might be, but I know we've looked at if someone, I'm just making this up, grade 3, step 1, but someone comes in, they already have a CDL, they have several years of experience, they may not be a 3-1, I'm just saying we might be a 3-2 or 3-3, but at the end of the day, compensation plan is for all the employees, including these folks, which would be town employees. The other thing that you're asking as well is yes. So we don't know whether or not someone who's existing that decides, hey, those projects, that sounds like great projects, and I want to transfer over to that crew. Everybody will know that right now the agreement is a 4-year commitment. We think it'll be longer. We think it'll be a great success. But yes, they need to know. We don't know what would happen after 4 years if the agreement was not continued.
I think generally with attrition and things like that, 7 people probably could get it absorbed and we find places to form, but hopefully it's success and we keep laying more water lines out there.
We don't want to, I think it'd be a wise decision on people coming in to know that, we don't think ahead that it's an expiration date.
Right.
However, we know based on an agreement, we have to look at.
Got to be enough work for you.
There's a potential
Yeah.
that work would end. We think that there's bigger things on the horizon in the future, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Mayor, if I could add a couple things to that. From the county standpoint, what the county will hope is that we identify funds that would keep this going, because we're looking at a 40-year or at least 25 year, even if we have enough money to buy the material and keep it going. But I think the county will be looking to identify funds to make sure this keeps going. But of course, that's subject to whatever the commission decides at the end of this 4 years. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Mr. Rosenoff was very careful in this negotiation to make it extremely clear that these are town employees. We keep referring to it as the county crew. We probably need to look at calling it something else, because these like, we wanted to make sure it was clear, and the county absolutely agreed with this, and we ultimately ended up just saying we're just going to make sure everything in this agreement says they're town employees. But they get the same holidays, so if town employees are off for United Way, that they would be too. They get the exact same. They will be full-fledged town employees and part of the family, and so that's that nomenclature might need to change so that it doesn't have a sense that it's going to be hard enough because their equipment and their supplies are going to be kind of kept separate. But other than that, they are town. That's not because of them. That's because of the funding from the county. But otherwise, they're full town.
The only thing I was thinking is the estimate that I had gotten for the salaries and things was over $400,000, and there's no way the town can absorb that much in 4 years.
I think that's what Mr. Ford thought, that he was just going to get a lump sum out of the county.
But now all of their salary and even their insurance benefits are reimbursable from the county, correct? So we really shouldn't be out anything there. We can't be under any illusion that this is any type of financial benefit for the town. But if anything, I think the county and the town hopes to break even on this, but more than anything, supply water to folks.
And if I could just add one more comment with respect to the employees. We would anticipate maybe some of the current employees wanting to work with this crew, but also, we hope that we can possibly recruit some individuals that already have experience in doing this, because with us entering this agreement with Washington County, we want to really hit the ground running and start getting water lines in the ground. And it's like we don't, it would be a detriment to have to hire 6 or 7 people that have work and then have to train them what they're doing before they can act. I mean, we're hoping to get experienced people and get them out and start getting the water lines in the ground rather quickly.
Now, will you all be able to kind of, you're not just going to have a set 7 that goes out and does that work. It might be that there's a few people, if somebody leaves, you move somebody over from another. Since they're our employees, we can rotate them, I guess, right?
There could possibly, you know, we could have an illness situation or something like that, but there'll probably be a couple of differences in the dynamic of the crews, because obviously, again, if Washington County's footing the bill, they're going to want to see that crew working on those county water line projects. So, you know, we will do everything we can to keep 7 staff on that particular crew and keep that crew going. So, you know, there could be a situation where someone is on vacation and we may forward this crew to put on that crew to keep that, you know, to keep that going. We're not going to do this to the detriment of the system, period. But, you know, we obviously feel the obligation to keep that crew staffed. So there'll be some differences. As an example, that crew probably won't operate on a call schedule like our current crews do, because you get a water line break at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're out there all night fixing the water line break, and then they can't be on the job the next day because they've worked all night. So there'll probably be a few subtle differences there, but the idea is to keep that crew on that project 5 days a week.
But it's reimbursement, but it's not based on the individual, it's based on the cost of the project, right, on employees? We're not.
It would be based on it's my understanding it would be quarterly, and it would be based on the salaries and benefits that was paid out in that quarter.
For that quarter, so.
But if they pull somebody, it could go the other way. And
yes.
And Mayor Grandy's been very flexible, recognizing that Jonesboro's got to have that flexibility to keep this thing moving. But if they pull somebody off that crew to cover for, like if they need an equipment operator on an emergency and pull somebody off that county crew, they'll keep track of that. Kevin will keep track of that, and that'll be accounted for in the reimbursement. So that's the way that the county can afford for us to have the flexibility that we need. Because you may, for instance, that you know, if they're boring, you know, they may need somebody that's a current Jonesboro employee that knows how to operate that boring machine.
More
that may
expensive.
Be on that crew for a day or two while they're getting the boring done. So there may be some switching around there. And likewise, you know, if that's a situation where that employee's paid more, then you know it'll
okay, that's good.
It'll take care of itself.
We'll have quite a bit of reporting, monthly reporting, Kevin's reporting, to the county reporting, a lot of continued dialogue. And if there's any time to have some form of flexibility and to be flexible and agile, this pandemic has shown us at some point, you know, a 7-man or 7-person crew, some issues can come up, whether it's pandemic related things happen, that if we said, you know, that was the 7, and we can't be flexible, we do have to be.
That's good.
So
Virginia?
It'd be a good, really good level of accountability for everything.
Yeah, I would think that Ms. Miller will probably set up just that as a crew, like water distribution, sewer, whatever. But one more question that I have. One more question that I have, and Mayor Grandy will probably need to answer, is on this 50-50 match. Are we going to offer a discount if they go ahead and get a tap? And this may be a town question. On the way through, I know in prior years in my life before this life, we had grants that when we laid water lines, and Jimmy probably remembers, we gave a discount if you got a tap on the way through, because it's much easier for the crew, is what I understood at the time, to put the tap in on the way through. And we offered discounts. And I think we had a little or a window of time that they could get the tap. And I thought that's a good thing to bring up. And the second thing is, just like if we did offer a discount, for example, if a farmer needs a tap for a barn, and we say, well, the tap fee, I'm not sure what it is, say $1,500. We're going to give you taps for $1,000. He may say, hey, I want one for my barn because I can get a discount and be able to water my cattle in case the pond goes dry. It's just a thought.
I think it says even when discounts are given that we're still 50-50 split, right?
Currently, as written, it's 50-50.
Even if we discount the tap. Joe's shaking his head, yes, I think. Yeah.
In the spirit of the agreement, really the intent is to give the town of Jonesborough all the flexibility that they currently have on their own water lines with respect to dealing with property owners. We could foresee the potential of a property owner having a challenge providing an easement, for example, that's on their property and not on a county right-of-way. And if that required a tap-in trade, then the town of Jonesborough would have the flexibility to do that. And the county really has no particular interest in trying to monitor that. The town does that today, and they do it well. And there's no reason to try to interfere with work that goes on by people who have no idea what they're doing. So that was the spirit of it. I think that the county is not going to be, particularly concerned about things like that. These projects will have their own life, every single one of them. Dealing with individuals. The hope is that we can account for the taps prior to the running of the water line, but even if that's not the case, as they're passed, as long as they're built into the project, we respectfully ask for the 50-50 split. And that is a way that the county can recoup a little bit of money to put back into projects, and it also gets us through the legal loophole of one municipality just giving the other municipality materials and assistance. Was there anything else?
And that may be something that the crew can start doing prior to starting to lay the water line, is going house to house or whatever, or sending letters out.
Yeah.
We're also hoping that county commissioners in that particular district would help town to promote that.
Jim?
Door to door, we know how to do that. The agreement does say the town shall adopt and implement the mechanism for fees to be collected for the installation and connection of tap fees. So the town can, as long as it's what we're doing evenly, then the town would be the one making that decision about the tap fees. So leaves it back in your court, just as the mayor said. And if you all make the decision to adopt a policy that you're going to do that, as far as if they get it, while the lines are going in, then that's perfectly fine.
Well, Joe is running for re-election, so he'll be going door to door, so he can do that while he's out there. Negotiate some tap fees at the same time, okay?
Thank you, Joe.
I just had one more point, and it's Alderman Causey that mentioned it. So go back to the water quality of Little Limestone Creek. Some of the stuff is from agriculture, which oftentimes is cattle or what have you, as far as in the creek. Basically, they're in the creek, so they're doing business and what have you. So there's also the idea of promoting to the farmers, which is already occurring, of actually having clean water or another water source for cattle and such on the agricultural world. So this can tie in, I think, really well with helping some water quality issues, whether it's part of our system, our stormwater and water quality system, or even the county in certain areas.
Very good. Virginia, anything else?
Okay.
I also have one minor little thing. I think it's in there. I don't know if it was clear, but on with getting Kevin involved, is there any reimbursement for his time when he has to be involved in this project, or is that just considered him as oversight?
That's just considered him as oversight. There's no position for that.
All right. I appreciate our staff and the county staff, several county commissioners I know were involved in this with Joe. So, Alderman, you got any more comments? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, very good. And I noticed there's one item was set up here about the Jackson Theater project. Is that something we need to add to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Alderman, you can see in front of you, subject was approved resolutions, general obligation bonds for the Jackson Theater project. Couple of recommendations there. Glenn, you want to touch on them real quick? But I think with stuff we've talked about before.
Right, thanks, Mayor. So this is just a sequence of events that we've been doing as far as to finish the Jackson Theater project. So we've talked about the GRC, we've talked about going to USDA, we've talked about letter of conditions, and so we've led up to two resolutions. The first resolution is an initial resolution authorizing the issuance of a not to exceed $2,832,100. Talks about a notice requirement. And the second resolution is a bond anticipation note authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of $2,832,100 bond by the town of Jonesborough and authorizing the issuance of a BAN prior to the issuance of the bond. The BAN is necessary as USDA Rural Development has issued to the town a letter of conditions dated July 26th, as amended, which it has agreed to purchase a bond on terms and conditions favorable to the town and the citizens. So this is getting us to the point of establishing a funding source or concluding on the funding source. And then we've already established, I'm not sure when we're planning on it, we're going to have a very, or quick to go to a meeting of a pre-construction meeting with GRC for the Jackson project to get things in place. And again, when we say time is of the essence, it's more on the, with the pandemic, you're looking at labor and cost of materials, which are two items that, you know, continue to increase, maybe not dramatically, but some items are. So the faster that we get established and locked in, and GRC's already pretty much locked in that change order and be able to start, you know, working on those pricing.
Yeah, we're probably somewhat fortunate. We had this project underway when the pandemic hit. And
I thought about it, and I have not done it because it would actually be a great exercise and probably fruitless to some people. But when you walk into the Jackson right now, we have that great steel infrastructure. And to think about how much that steel would be priced today.
Yeah.
Might think about selling it and pay for the debt. No, but anywhere from 130 to 200% I've heard on different steel projects. So when I walked in not too long ago, and it's the first thing I thought of, wow, we probably got a bargain back a year or so ago, probably almost a year and a half ago.
I remember what that building looked like before we put that in there, and it was like you lean in or you're worried about whether it's going to fall, but man, that thing looks solid right now, so they've done a great job down there.
It is, the exterior, so we think it's be a year or less to complete it, so GRC's itching to move forward with us.
Let's get her going. I guess we need to add this to our agenda, so
yes,
Alderman,
if you would.
If I can get a motion to add this item to our agenda.
Move to approve adding to the agenda.
A motion to approve from Alderman Dixon.
Second.
Second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
All right, you heard the presentation there and the recommendations. Alderman, any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. All right, any other discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Caroline.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
All right, motion carried. All right, I think we did some good work, Alderman and staff. Meeting adjourned.